Dun, da, 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 da. This was one of my father's favorite songs to sing to me, and that tells you a little bit about my childhood. So, either you finally made it to the last video of homework 5, or you sent me one of those emails that says, I made one little mistake and now I can't answer the rest of the hypothesis test question. Yeah, I know, that's on purpose. Let me explain to you how it works. Here's a typical hypothesis test question. First, we have some story, and then you're asked to fill out the null and the alternative. Now, you can do it in pieces. It's okay. It doesn't count as one of your 5 tries unless you've given that particular question 5 tries. So I've answered this one. I haven't used any of my 5 tries on these. It gives me the red X for the same reason that it tells me all this preview stuff, because my version looks different. I'm the teacher. So I'm going to want over 111. Okay, so let's do over, and now 111.62. And this is going to be mu, because that one's over. This one's got to be less than or equal. 111.62. Alpha, you can pick whatever alpha you want in this case because it doesn't tell you. Most people pick 0.05. If you go too small or too big, the computer's going to say, that's not reasonable. Please redo it. So, Thomas, give me an alpha.
0.04.
Thomas says 0.04. Okay, sounds great. And now I know this is going to be a z-score. Wait, is it cannot do? If it's cannot do, the whole rest of the question I'm going to put cannot do. I'm going to type in cannot do. I'm going to type in cannot do. But I think this one actually can be done. 61 is more than 30, so it is actually going to be a z-score. Once you typed in those cannot do's, these questions would change to have cannot do as an option. Z equals, our z-score, I get negative 0.4959 if I round. How did I get that? I took my x bar minus mu, I kept that in parentheses, over my sigma divided by the square root of 61, and that's how I got my z-score. Now I need a p-value. P-value, click here to open the distribution app. I put in my negative z-score right there, but this is a greater than test, so I want the side to be over there. My p-value is 0.69. That's a big p-value, but it's because we were testing whether it was over, and our statistic is actually under. So I probably would have switched that if I'd have paid attention to it, but that's okay. We can still do the problem. My p-value, I already forgot because I closed my window and I was talking too much, monologuing like a villain. 0.69. 0.69. And now look, do not answer until you choose alpha. Well, what's the right answer? I can't do this. Yes, that's on purpose. It's locked. Here's the problem that we used to have. Students were randomly picking whether to reject or fail to reject. Come on, that's easy. And they were picking randomly their answer. You get 5 tries. You can probably get it. And these guys you can get because they also have a pull-down menu and they could guess. And so they weren't even reading the question, and they were getting 80% on the homework because they were just filling in all the multiple choice. So no, you need to get the z-score correct and you need to get the p-value correct, or else you can't get these pieces. In that sense, getting the z-score and the p-value are worth more. Look what happens if I just do my alpha. Submit for testing. Now it says, don't do this until you get the z-score, which was negative 0.495889. And now it says, don't do this until you get the p-value, which was 0.69. Once I finally have submitted all those pieces, now it unlocks. It says fail to reject or reject. In this case, I've got a big p-value, so I'm going to fail to reject, which means there is not evidence that the average weight is, that's worded wrong. Okay, so I fixed the wording, which I should have paid attention to. Wait, it says wait. Okay, I am not changing the wording again. I was not careful before I made the video. Point is, you have to get the p-value and the z-score before you can get the fail to reject or reject option. If you don't, you will lose extra points. You get 5 tries. That means if you've burned 4 of your tries and you're still getting it wrong, you need to come find help. Get someone who can tell you what's going on so that you can fix that. Otherwise, you'll end up losing more than just 1 point.